So, hello guys. This podcast will be in English. And I am going to talk about animation and manga. Anime and manga. About fantasy fiction stories. I am going to talk about Dragon Ball. I am a fan of Dragon Ball, or I used to be when I was a kid. I am not, I wouldn't consider myself naive, and I don't want to be offensive for others, because I don't want to be offensive. Nonetheless, I just appreciate good art, and recently, especially after watching some Dragon Ball Super episodes and this new re-edition, new story added to Dragon Ball, and the Dragon Ball canon, Dragon Ball franchise, I got some few thoughts, I got some reconsiderations, rethinking my previous sentiments. Dragon Ball Super, I watch it mostly because why? I am curious in what direction they will go. And because I have spare time to watch it, nothing really important in my way. Obviously, I read and watch other genres, other anime, I read other manga, I watch Western movies, like superhero movies and so on. I like it too. I like also psychological movies, philosophical movies. As I said, I consider myself as a fan of every good art, whether modern or ancient, just a good art, whether as a movie or as a sculpture, painting, drawing, or whatever. But yes, I've got also about Dragon Ball franchise. I've got a lot of good things and bad things. Well, you have to also put the level of expectations from Dragon Ball franchise. You can't expect too much from it, or you can't expect the same as from, let's say, Lord of the Rings. But you should expect more than a simple Western, I don't know, Western morning cartoon for children. It's it's above that, but it's also less than. It's not very pretentious, and it's not very, let's say, mature. No, not very. I like the adjective. Well, it's not the Moby Dick, or it's not very serious theme. It's the main reason is the main reason for Dragon Ball existence is entertainment, and every genre, every kind of anime, whether shonen or not shonen, yaoi, even yuri, even hentai, has its own logic to it. logic of the story, logic of the character development. The consistency. Every series, every something like that, every creation should have its consistency, and Dragon Ball has its consistency. Well, when when something is inconsistent or very inconsistent in that case, because Dragon Ball is even original, let's say Toriyama's Dragon Ball is not perfect, far from perfect, but it's not that. It's not like Swiss cheese. It has some holes, but they are mostly minor plots and so on. And they are not very, I think, very, very hard to take. But when something has more, some series, let's say GT, many fans have problems with GT. Me too. Especially when the story comes, when the consistency comes, and the Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z too has its problems with consistency. Less those problems are seen, less it's a problem. When you can't see that, then you wouldn't be bothered by that. But well, it depends on level of your in-depth and the level of your focus on every series. I must have this consistency. I don't watch every story, even if there are super warriors, super techniques. I would watch even I don't know, I don't want to call any names. Or let's say guns, because it's big guns, aliens, spaceships, super suits that gives you superpowers, even the erotic part. There are sex and brutality. Well, I can accept that. I would accept that if the story was better, or maybe it's just over the use of brutality, of simple violence. There must be some balance for me to watch it. Like in Dragon Ball, there is a balance at least. They are not mindlessly killing each other. They are fighting, sparring with themselves. It's about martial arts, mostly. Yes, so and there is one point in consistency with Dragon DB, which is martial arts. This should be the main theme through the whole, through every series. But since the beginning, it has been established in the DB, Dragon Ball, first series, both in manga and anime, that there are some basic rules of martial arts. There are basic, methods of training, levels. The first, you are maybe very strong, like Goku, but granted, he is also a Saiyan, so his skin is tougher than an average human, but an average human can develop this hardness, this hardness of his muscle structure, and the brute power, like Goku. One can also develop his speed by, like a turtle training method, while wearing heavy weights like turtles, yes, and so on, or maybe special clothing like in Kami-sama's stage. So you can more you train in that direction, you at some point you can also control your own energy, your ki, and then that then goes up. You can go faster, you can go stronger, and there is some point at where you can when you can feel someone else's presence, someone else's ki, when you can trace someone. It was fragmentary, expanded partially from the beginning of Piccolo Daimao saga, when at first Goku couldn't feel anything, he wasn't able to. We don't know for sure that Piccolo Daimao could, but I believe he couldn't. It was only his parents' instincts that spoke to him about his when one of his children's spawns was killed by the good guys. It was only this intuition, because they used to have a connection, some mental connection with every children. But he couldn't, I believe, sense any ki. Then he would, if he could, then he would know the old turtle's power, the tinge, and every of his opponent's power, even Goku's. In the opposite, after Goku managed to drink this really sacred water, and that unleashed his potential, his Saiyan potential, he at that moment of time, he could somehow feel the energy of Piccolo Daimao as a great evil somewhere beyond the horizon of the Karin's tower. Somehow, maybe he couldn't realize that yet. Maybe it was more like I don't know, some building an atmosphere. But then, after defeating Piccolo Daimao and after Goku went to Kami-sama, then he learned to sense ki, because he was trained to sense ki by Mr. Popo and Kami-sama. For real, he could, without using his 5 basic senses, he could sense the energy by his mind and locate someone by that sense, by that intuition or whatever that is exactly. So there was this level. And he also accomplished to learn the flying technique, but this flying isn't necessarily bound with that level when some Kami-sama's level, because Tien Shin Han also learned from his master to how to fly, and it was purely because of the skill of his master, of knowledge of his master, of Tien Shin Han's master. So Tien could learn to fly. And also the same, I think, could go with Kami-sama's technique of senses, but at that time on the earth, maybe there wasn't anyone who could teach that to others. Maybe the old master of turtles, forgot his name. The guy who invented Mafuba, maybe he could sense the energy. Who knows? But at that point of the time of the era, only Kami-sama Namekian could sense that energy, have such an ability, and Mr. Popo too. No, Mr. Popo had that ability, and he is a servant of every Kami-sama on earth from very, very long. We don't know how much long, but he was there before the Namekian rule, right? Anyway, there is this pattern of developing powers, and even the flying itself, it just depends of the amount of your own ki. More you train, stronger you get, more ki you can access. You are able to access from yourself, from your body. Then you can learn to fly. More powerful you are, less energy it takes to fly, and so on to destroy the rock, to destroy the mountain, to destroy the whole city. It depends, right, on your amount of ki. Then just from that, the end of DB, everything. There is also another point. Yes, Kami-sama taught Goku to control his ki, because Goku could. I couldn't understand that at first. It was, I think, it was consistent with DB, but then we had Goku who could control his ki at the end of DB to fight with Piccolo, and only against Piccolo Goku actually used his full power, unleashes his full energy, and then we see he got exhausted and so on with he had breath problems and so on. Only after that. And then we have Dragon Ball Z. And from the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, all there is more power. Like I would say more muscle power, more brutal power. But also obviously with speed. As we progress to Cell Saga or Android Saga, we have those so-called ultra super science, or after the Vegeta and Trunks goes into the room of the spirit and the time, they develop a new Super Saiyan form, which is more muscle form, but it balances the muscle, the power, the raw, brutal power with the speed. Well, which Trunks obviously breaks after that. He is not because he was foolish and so on. Vegeta knew that he couldn't balance. He couldn't expand his muscle structure and become more powerful without losing more of his speed. So he balanced it. More or less, all the Dragon Ball Z was about muscle power, building your ki up, or building your muscle, more training. And until the end, and after a couple of years after the Dragon Ball Z has ended, and even after GT, I used to think that it was just this as they progressed in Dragon Ball Z, their control of ki, that lessons that were taught by Namekian Kami-sama, were the first Namekian Kami-sama, were that they remembered it, that they, all the warriors, especially Goku, it wasn't that they used to fight more brawl, like you know what is brawl. Every hit is possible as long as you can, as it's effective, you can. Okay, not maybe every, because they didn't use the crouch hits. They only attacked the upper body, but it was a brawl, muscle fight, the power, the strength fight. I thought they remembered that lessons. And after the first movie of the new series with new character God Beerus, I thought that God Beerus could defeat the whole, that his technique was like this chopsticks. He wasn't focusing using even his fists, but only his fingers. It was delicate, like as Goku used to do that in the end of Dragon Ball during the tournament. I thought this was just too ridiculous, too silly. And after I only realized that after they make Dragon Ball Super, until the recent episodes, 23rd or 24th, after the second movie and so on, after the Goku and Vegeta trained in that foggy new power of Roman spirit or something like that they struggled, because when they were pushing, but when they kind of relaxed, they could move freely, they could do anything, because it was all about relaxation. Then I realized there are more than one direction of getting stronger in Dragon Ball franchise. It was kind of smart, I think, right now. It's more realistic. And that in Dragon Ball Z, they mostly forgot how to exploit that direction, because this more, they went to just expanding their ki mostly. So obviously the self-control was needed, but it was I believe on the second place, or even on the third place, when it could be explained. That could be an explanation. One Goku's let's say it was his all DBZ's accomplishment for the almost entire series, until the Buu saga, was to, after the training in the other world, he accomplished getting Super Saiyan 3, which is very muscled, very power-up form of Super Saiyan, but isn't efficient enough, and it loses energy very fast. It's just very bulkish, very Hulk form, and it doesn't accomplish the perfect balance between power and spirit and calmness. It's just more brutal power. Yes, because Goku exploited that direction as a Saiyan. He exploited that until the Buu saga, and after that, well, we hadn't had Dragon Ball Super and this new sub saga, but we skipped already to the 10 years after Buu saga, to the last tournament, to meeting Majin Buu's reincarnation, which is Ub, this little nigger kid. And then we have some taste of Goku's not using Super Saiyan form at all. And because he was, and it was told that he was trying to build up his basic form. And it was also told by the old Kaioshin in the Buu saga during their struggle with Buu. That he summarized, because he summarized this all Super Saiyan power up as wasting of their energy. And it was kind of all those facts, little facts, were the method of step by step preparing the audience for this new direction, and let's call it the gods direction. What I despise, dislike the gods, all these gods mythology and so on. For me, gods, especially Kaioshins, are more like bureaucrats. They are a parody of bureaucrats. They can scream a lot. They may seem very important and so on, very high from the average man. They may even have some powers, like the old Kaioshins seeing through everything and seeing like has this extra vision to see women's during showers and so on. But actually they are useless. Okay, and they are more like just they are, because Toriyama isn't an anarchist or anarcho-capitalist or anything like that. I believe his views at that time were just, oh, they are bureaucrats. So let's make gods like a parody of bureaucrats, or the other way. I don't know, and that was funny. It's a funny satire to this day, I believe. That gods of creation are like bureaucrats, but and the god of destruction is the real deal. But it's also very aristocratic bullshit, let's say. Why he is there anyway? I can't find any analogy to the social political reality as for now. I don't know any, because just in real life the bureaucrats as such are enough to become parasites, are parasites, and are enough to become the gods of destruction as such. They they distract the economy and people's wealth and so on. We don't need a separate being like Beerus. Anyway, where was I? Let's say God's pattern, God's method of getting stronger. It really looks very logical to me, very consistent. Now, as far as we know, the warriors, Goku, Vegeta, and others exploited the normal ki, their normal ki. They exploited that method. So now they need to exploit the new perspective, new whole other kind of energy, this God's energy, let's say. And that's very, it's kind innovative. It's kind consistent with the rest. And that's what all I wanted to speak about exactly. That's my point. It's very consistent with the rest. Sorry if you weren't able maybe to understand me. Please I beg you to to go easy on my English. Please appreciate, like, or just express your own opinion under this clip. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And if there are people who would watch this from this internet Dragon Ball community like Geekdom 101 and his friends and his colleagues, I bid you a good day, my friends. I appreciate your work. I listen to you, I subscribe you, so maybe you can subscribe me back. So